It's funny how much we can take a game for granted. Genshin Impact took the world by storm. A free-to-play open world with Zelda-like exploration, a unique combat system that relies heavily on elemental interactions, and looks as gorgeous as this. It's no surprise that it grew as popular as it did, but as time went on, players finished the story, and what was left was an incredibly painful grind. To level up characters, to get weapons and artifacts, and to beat the end game known as the Spiral Abyss. The grind got too real, even for me. I'd wake up every day, do my daily stuff, barely make any progress, and log out. And I did this for months. And for what? The Spiral Abyss? That's the only endgame content that exists right now, and if I'm being completely honest, I don't even like the Abyss that much. So I dropped Genshin Impact, and it felt good. I was no longer grinding pointlessly just to see my numbers go up. I had more time to play other games that I really enjoyed, and more time to make videos. It was such a great decision. Well, Genshin 2.0 is here. The patch adds the third major city, Inazuma, and I was once again reminded why this game blew up in the first place, as I streamed it on twitch.tv/Globku. Give me a follow, link down below. I stream every weekday. Inazuma takes the best of Genshin Impact and makes it even better. And to me, the best of Genshin Impact isn't the characters that you get in the gacha, it's not the waifus. For me, it is the story, the lore, and the exploration. Feeling like I'm discovering a new area, clearing up bandit camps and grabbing their treasure, stumbling on new world puzzles as I make my way to something else. This sense of discovery is what drew me to Genshin Impact in the first place, accompanied by a story that I simply adore. The epic trail of a traveler that's looking for their sibling while discovering this world and how it works has had the ability to draw me into its universe in a way that not a lot of open world games are able to do. And a part of that is because every major city has a different culture and overall just a different vibe. Mondstadt is the city of freedom. Its people go wherever the wind blows, but too much freedom can have its issues, which is something that you discover in the prologue for this game. Act 1 takes you to Liyue, the city of contracts, the capital of trade in this world where everything can and should be made into a written contract. And now Inazuma, the eternal city. Its ruler wants to remain so for eternity. They want stability for the entire country, and that has several consequences, the biggest one perhaps being how hostile it is towards outsiders. Outsiders can bring about change, something that Inazuma doesn't want, so outsiders are scammed, discriminated against, and as an outsider yourself, you'll feel this as soon as you arrive at the port town of Rito. You cannot leave this little town without a permit, but permits are impossible to get. Outsiders are only allowed to stay here to secure trade routes, but they are seen as lesser citizens, and now you are one of those lesser citizens. Your status as hero of Mondstadt and Liyue carries very little weight here. So when you finally figure out how to leave this small town, not only have you gained an idea of how this nation works, you feel like you've earned it, you worked hard for it. And that's just one of the many genius ways Genshin Impact has of telling its story. It's very show don't tell. Whenever the ruler is oppressing its people, you don't hear it from the perspective of the ruler, you always see it through the eyes of the people. You listen to their stories, you see their day-to-day life, and you see how it has been impacted by whatever decree the ruler has decided. And as soon as I set foot outside of Rito, this area has a completely different vibe. If Mondstadt was all about big open fields and Liyue was about tall mountains, Inazuma feels like an archipelago that's constantly under threat of a huge thunderstorm. It's somber, but there's a beauty to this somberness. If someone picked up my character and put me in a random place on this entire map, I could tell you immediately which region it was, because they all have their own aura, and that's incredible. And part of that is because of the soundtrack. They keep on delivering such amazing tracks. Inazuma sounds different. It's a new style, but it's still so good that we'll probably just play these new tracks for the rest of this video. Inazuma isn't here to tell us its own story though. After all, the main character is here to find out more about their sibling, and the way the main character's plot progresses alongside the Inazuma plot is nothing short of amazing, similar to how they did it in previous chapters. You learn so much more, not just about Inazuma, but about how this entire world that we've been playing for months now works. One of the big things you learn early on is about visions and how much of an impact they have on your personality. We always took visions for granted. They're a little amulet that gives our characters powers. That's it. Most games would end it there, but there's so much thought put into this world that it's hard not to fall in love with it. Visually, I was also shocked. Genshin Impact has always been beautiful, but I really thought the game was done surprising me with its graphics. But the stuff they're doing in Inazuma is crazy impactful. And whatever they're doing, as soon as I left that initial town, I noticed my PC's performance. It just wasn't running at 60 FPS anymore, which meant this was the perfect time to test out a new feature, cross-save save between PC and PlayStation. I've always been a PC player mainly because of the load times every time you teleport. Now, with the PlayStation 5, the load times are roughly the same, so I wouldn't mind playing there. And you know what? It works. It was a pretty fast setup too, and all of those trophies are making me want to platinum this game now. And so onward I ent into Inazuma Island, following the main story, finding side quests, and doing open world activities along the way. And that's when it hit me. I've been playing this game for hours now, and I didn't even realize time had passed. This is something that usually happens to me when picking up a brand new game. But to have played so many hours of Genshin Impact already and still getting this feeling should tell you how new Inazuma feels. As you could probably already tell, I love the story, so doing the story quests in Inazuma is awesome for me. But the side missions were all incredibly well written too. Very rarely do you have a simple fetch quest. There's always a narrative, some mystery to investigate. And the narrative isn't always self-contained. It doesn't start and end with a quest. It gives you an extra insight into the world or hints at certain things that will happen later in the main story. I first learned about the whole visions affecting personalities thing through a side quest. Only hours later was that topic further explored in the main story. And on top of that, I learned a lot about this small village just outside of Rito. And now it's not just another place that I run by on my way to my objective. No, it's a place that I know with characters that I know. And this, folks, is more than what most Ubisoft open world games can even do. AAA quality $60 games often don't have such a complex and well-woven narrative with interesting side quests as well. And I feel like sometimes we take that for granted in Genshin Impact. Perhaps because the game is free, or perhaps because it's dismissed as a gacha, but up to this point, everything that I talked about, zero gacha elements. You can play as much of the story as you want, explore the world, do the side quests, and it doesn't spend a drop of resin, which is this game's stamina system. And you don't need to level up to do all of this stuff. You can just stay the same level and do the entire story. There are level requirements to unlock the story at first, yes, but those aren't even that grindy to get to, and I think by just playing the story, doing side missions and doing dungeons and stuff like that, you will hit those requirements easily. In contrast to the My Hero mobile game that we played a few weeks ago, where the game forced me to stop playing the story every time I ran out of stamina and in between missions made me browse 10 different menus to redeem 50 different currencies, the gacha in this game is so safely ignored if what you like to play is the stuff I'm talking about. And the exploration of Inazuma is so great. Looking at the full area, it doesn't seem as big as the first two areas, but everything feels a lot more condensed for sure. And not only do you have the usual puzzles and chests to find, there are new mechanics utilizing electricity, and they even brought back the boat from that limited time event, even creating some puzzles around the boat as well. So it's not just more exploration, it's actually new mechanics. You've got new story dungeons, which are probably my favorite parts of story mode, these smaller self-contained levels with brand new mechanics like these sliding doors, or even more stuff involving electricity. And I took a big break before coming back to the game, so I have a ton of stuff on top of that from previous updates. There's the usual grind to level up characters, which I'm not a fan of, but we'll get into later. And now there are hangout episodes where you pick a character and just hang out with them, with dialogue choices that can lead you down different paths. There's a new housing system where you can farm for materials, build furniture and new buildings as well, and customize the space as you want to customize it. And I think now you can farm too, so you can grow plants in this area, which would save you time from grinding for materials out in the world, but I didn't invest too much time into this yet. And my point is, there is so much to do, so many paths you could take in Genshin Impact, so much content, and most of it is really, really good. Especially after all the updates the game has received over time, they listened to feedback, they made the stamina system a lot better, along with a lot of new systems, a lot of quality of life changes, that this has easily become one of the best anime games of all time. Now, I did take a break back then, and that was for a very good reason. This game definitely has its downsides, but what I learned during my break is that I don't need to engage with those downsides to enjoy the good stuff. Here's what I don't like about Genshin. I don't think it has a good endgame. Currently, it's just the abyss, defeating waves of enemies. I don't think that's super fun. I look forward to when there's a raid or some smaller dungeons to beat in co-op, but just killing waves of enemies is not my idea of a fun endgame. And I hate the progression. I just hit adventure rank 50 as I came back to Genshin, Genshin, which meant I raised my level cap. I looked at the materials to level up a single character and was immediately reminded of why I dropped it. It was easily a week of grinding one boss, because these materials are what's locked behind the stamina system. And I do think that's fair, but knowing that I can't level up for a week and I have to play every day to do it, it's very demoralizing. And this is just for one character. I gotta do the same for every character I want to level up in my party. The grind gets absolutely insane, and that's why I stopped playing, because I realized I was grinding to beat an end game that I didn't even like that much. And now I've returned to the game with a new perspective. I literally can ignore every single gacha element this game has if I don't care about the Abyss. And that's been so liberating. Someone in the comments will probably say, well, easy for you to say with a 5-star character. I don't have one 5-star character. I have like 4 or 5, and I didn't put any money into summoning. The problem with summons, and the reason why people get so mad at it as free-to-play players, is that they want a specific character. As a free-to-play, you gotta play with what the game gives you, and the game gives you a lot. You just have to know how to pick it up and make the best of it. The game definitely wants me to play Bennett, for instance. I got like 5 Bennetts, and I didn't even play him before now. But if I have a C5 Bennett, better put him to good use then. I'm making the best of what the game gave me, and it gives me so much. In the first day of playing Inazuma alone, it gave me enough Primogen for 20 summons. In these 20 summons, I got 2 characters and a 4-star weapon, and that was just one day. The Primos will slow down over time, the game won't give you as many. Absolutely, that's how gachas work. But when you get to that point, you'll be done with the good stuff. You'll be done with the story, the side quest, the exploration, and all that's left is leveling up and beating the Abyss. And that's when I will say, time to stop playing again and wait for the next expansion. Genshin Impact slowly leads you into this grind mentality. It's very good at doing that, but once you see through its tricks, it's easy to circumvent and enjoy the awesome content that they keep delivering for free. And I'm back for a long time now because this expansion is huge. I've heard that this story is hours and hours long, like a full $60 game's worth of story. And I'm gonna be playing it mostly on stream, exploring Inazuma, uncovering the main story, the side stories, and maybe, if I feel like it, I'll grind a few bosses because I know you guys enjoy my suffering. Twitch.tv/Globku streaming every weekday. And if you've recently returned to Genshin Impact, I'd love to know how the game is treating you. Let me know in those comments below, and as always, thank you very much for watching. My name's Globku, and I'll see you next time. Bye!